Hey y'all, welcome back to the Smoke Dungeon. DB here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Manila, the Savage Streets, 1945, Solitaire Area Movement Series, Volume 2, Take Game Designs, Revolution Games. This is number 2. It's a follow-up to this fine game. So this is a new one. It came out within the last couple of weeks, I think. I ordered this off the Revolution Games site, and I will say I ordered it off the site, and it showed up like 3 days early, smooth as could be, packaged beautifully. So they got that going for them. Faux show. So let's open it up, take a look. We're going to let's look at the back of the box real quick, because if you haven't seen my other video, this one's going to be kind of pretty much the same. We got our components. What's the deal with this game, you may ask? Well, it is a solitaire area impulse war game. You can set it up in, it says 15 minutes, but honestly, if it takes you 15 minutes to set this one up, you got situations. There's not very many counters. It's only usually one counter sheet. And the game can play very, very quick. At least the Stalingrad version can. And by very, very quick, I mean I usually get my ass kicked. So yeah, it's a unique take on the area impulse movement thing. It's designed by Mike Ranella, who is known for a lot of great games, and I like his work. So let's check it out. The box is actually very nice too, y'all. We got our dice. They actually include very nice dice in these games. I will say that. And they're color-coded. Green for the Americans in this version and red for the Japanese. Not the best of rolls. Rounded corners, though, you know. We've got our rule book. Paper rule book. Coming in 16 pages. They count the cover as a page. That's so whack, y'all. Come on, we could do better. We could do better. There are some differences in this rule book as opposed to the Stalingrad rule book, and we'll go over that in a second. I just want to show you guys everything that's actually included in here. These are our counters. These are 5/8 inch counters. I like them. I like them. They're double-sided because we use hidden. In this game, the Axis will use hidden deployment for their counters. These are randomly placed on the board, so you don't really know what's there. You have your U.S. counters. They're a nice little, what do we call that, drab green, olive green. In here, we have clear, urban, and fort. So they're using different terms than they used for Stalingrad, but the colors are the same. There's only 3 different varieties of terrain in this game, whereas in Stalingrad there were 4. There's light urban, heavy urban, elevated, and clear, I believe, in Stalingrad. We have our control counters, our supply counters, our various tracking counters. So, counters, very nice. Only one sheet, y'all. Then, we got a player aid with a little waggle. And you know I like that waggle, because I don't like just a paper player aid. Because, you know, this is going to get a lot of use. So, this should be of a decent quality. And this one is. It only has one player aid card in here, but that's okay, because it's a solo game, right? And on this card, we're going to talk about this in a second, because I have an issue with this card and a bone to pick with this game series in general that I've commented. If you watch my other video, I allude to it in there. But this is the card. We have our random events. We have our sequence of play, the reinforcements. We have a combat phase, how to resolve it, the attack value. Then we have the Japanese tokens, what they actually mean here, the American supply tokens and their costs. Then we have this, which, if I'm going to be honest, is a total waste of space right here. And we're going to go back and talk about this. And then we have our movement costs. This is just, this is an exact copy from a page in the rule book that just tells you what everything does. Like, we're going to get into that. Then we have a beautiful map right here. It's only It's a smallish map. It's fourfold, but this is a military map of the city of Manila. So, actually, it's probably not a military map, maybe. It's just an overlay of the city, I think. It's different in that aspect to the Stalingrad game, where I believe the map in that was actually a German military map. This looks more akin to just a city map. But, yeah, you'll see we have our numbered locations on here. The red are the actual number of the locations, and then the defensive bonus and what color token for defense you will place in there is this plus value. We have names on all these, and then we have our tracks over here. We have our turn track. You'll notice this game is only 9 turns long, which is significantly shorter than Stalingrad. So that's going to be interesting to see how this plays versus that one, in that there is only 9 turns to do everything here. And the object of the game is going to be to capture the entire city. So we have the morale, we have the record chart. Now we have our use support units. Again, we have a sequence of play. I love this. I love having all this included on a solo game board. I think it's phenomenal. Because that, you don't really want to, even if you're playing by yourself, you don't want to have to go back to the rule book. And we'll get back to that in a second. Over here, this is a change from the Stalingrad game as well. And this is a great change. And this is the random event table, which is on the player aid card. And I believe it's in the rule book. I'm not sure. But it is indeed on this player aid card, where we roll at the beginning of the turn, right? You're rolling 3d6 and then something happens. Like maybe there's civilians and refugees are in the way, or maybe the Shimbu group offensive occurs. Well, in the Stalingrad game, you just had to remember that stuff. So you would roll and then have to remember, like, oh, everything gets +1 defense. You would probably forget that often, especially if you spend a lot of time in a smoke dungeon like this guy. But we have this here. And then I believe there are these lovely counters down here, which you can put on here to remind yourself. So that is a difference from Stalingrad, and it's an awesome one. Down the bottom here, we have our out of action, where destroyed American units are placed. And then we have available support units. Over here, we have another addition. And this is an attack defense value track. And what this is when you're calculating the strength of your units, you often take the attack value of the lead unit, and then you're adding various factors to it. Each additional unit, you're going to add 1. If they're all from the same organization, you'll add 1. They introduced leaders in this game, which also add 1. And then there's morale. You can have artillery, all that kind of stuff. And what that means is you're going to have to add both numbers for you and the Japanese. And then you're going to roll dice. And then you compare the numbers to find the results. Yada, yada, yada. Well, you used to have to track that by yourself. I used D20s. And then I think in my actual playthrough video, though, I just kind of kept it in my head and used D6s. Can be kind of a pain in the ass. Normally, I don't really have trouble with numbers. I used to be an accountant for a long time. So I kind of like numbers and I like crunchiness. But it's always super helpful for this. And I realize math is not the forte of everyone. So right here, you have this. In this dead space of the map, you can put a counter here to keep track of the American attack value in an attack, or the Japanese, or both actually, of the Japanese defense value. So it's easy to compare. So that is awesome. All in all, the board. I love the board. I love what they've done with it, the things they've added to it. The differences between that and Stalingrad are awesome. Now, I want to go back to the rule book. Okay? We're going to go through the rule book real quick, because when I was looking through here, I noticed one thing, and that kind of bothered me. So we're going to compare the rule book and the, so I can get this off my chest here. The rule book and the player aid card. So the rule book we're going through here, we have setup, right? Tells you what type of units there are. Up here we have this exact same panel right here. It's moved over into here. And this is the most basic information you're gonna like realize to play this game. So it's like where you set it up, what unit it is, attack, movement, and that there's a spent side. So do we really need to put this here? I'm thinking no. I'm thinking that this is poor form, and I don't know. Japanese unit information, the same exact thing. Unrevealed and then obviously revealed. Like if you can't grasp these two concepts from either playing the previous game, which I know not everybody might have the previous game, right? So we include it in the rule book, right? Well, there it is. So why, with this stuff that you're never really going to have to reference again, once you play the game, would you put that on the player aid card? Okay? It's not like a cost to a value or the defensive strategy or like this table. You literally, once you play the game once, will never need to reference that. And if you do, God help you, man. You know what I'm saying? So, big problem with that, right? That's like a super pet peeve. And you're going to see why in a second. Because we're going to go through the rule book, right? And then it's going to tell us this is where we place units, right? It's going to go through the combat, everything like that. It's going to go through movement. It's all the same as the previous Stalingrad. Then we're going to go through attacks and how we attack, right? So, again, the one thing that I don't care for that's in here is you reveal the defensive unit before you name your lead attacking unit. And when there's things like ambush involved, which destroys your lead attacking unit, I just don't understand why you would do that. It makes it so, I don't know. I have a hard time grasping that concept that like you get to choose which one of your guys is getting ambushed when you know there's an ambush. I just feel like that's just bizarre. And I'd love to hear the reasoning behind that. But I haven't. So I don't know. So I'm just going to keep playing it the way it is, which is you reveal the defense and then you pick your attacking guy, which I think is ass backwards, but whatever. So we go through and then it tells you how to compute the results of combat, right? There are 4 different things that can happen: a repulse, a stalemate, a success, and an overrun. And just like in the Stalingrad, the only place you can find that information is right here. It's like it's a one section of the rule book right here. But this is like how combat is actually resolved. And it's only in this one part of the book. And you would feel like those paragraphs could go right fucking here. And then you would never have to flip back to this. Granted, after a while, you kind of figure it out. But there are a few very important lines in here that you may forget or that you could reference, right? Like, the repulse, you got to reduce your morale by 1. You often forget that sometimes in the heat of your thing. You're like, oh, shit, I want to do this. Now I want to do this. Oh, I got to go back. I forgot to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like that's like one of the core, it's the core thing of the game, and it's not on here. But instead, we waste this space with this jank shit. I don't know. That's a big problem for me. Here's my second problem in the rule book, okay? Japanese defensive strategy. What these counters do. Clearly, it shows you right here what they do, right? Look in the rule book. It ain't in here, okay? Instead, it says to reference the player card, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, in the Stalingrad game, it said, here's how, when you reveal the unit, here's where it is, right? And then this part right here was in the rule book. It literally says, right here, if the Japanese unit in the area entered is unrevealed, flip it to its revealed side. Japanese units are revealed after all movement into the area is complete, but prior to combat resolution. Japanese units' defensive strategy is applied during the combat resolution that follows. A defensive strategy is applied only once when the Japanese unit is first revealed. See the player aid card. So this, the defensive strategy of the Japanese dudes, is not even in the fucking rulebook, y'all? Like, come on. What is that? So, like, yeah, I know what it does because I'm a junkie for these games. But what happens if you play this once or twice and then you lose this? Now you got to go print it off on the internet, or like, I don't know. It just seems like the rule book should have all the rules for playing the game in it. I don't know. Maybe I'm going out of my mind. Maybe I spend way too much time in the smoke dungeon, y'all. I don't know. I love this game. I love this series of games. But you make these changes to it, right, to improve it. They're obviously quality of life changes by, like, putting this thing on the board, this random event result counter, this attack defensive thing. Wonderful. Wonderful quality of life changes. And then you give me a rule book that technically I can't even play the fucking game with? What, dude? Like, I don't know. It just baffles my mind. It baffles my mind that like, that's what the final thing is. I just don't, again, I can't grasp my head around it. Like, all it really takes is this, putting this little thing in here. And you can't be like, oh, it would cost more money for the rule book or whatever. You got colored stuff in here. Everything's good to go, man. Like, I don't know. So you got half the rules on the card and then half in the book? That's like, I don't know, man. From somebody that's putting out a series of games that you're making improvements to, I don't know if I'm coming across as way harsh or critical or what, but that just is poor form on that one. But that being said, I mean, as I rant on, right? I guess, who knows? I'm shaking the table. That's always a bad sign. DB's getting crazy, yo. But that shit just really chaps my ass. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'll tell you what I am going to do. I am going to punch these counters right now, and I ain't going to clip them because I don't clip counters. Ooh, I said it. I'm going to punch them, and I'm going to play this game. And you know what? I'm going to enjoy this game, and I'm going to love this game more than likely. Fingers crossed, John. Fingers crossed. Just kidding, yo. I'm sure I'll dig it because I dig Stalingrad. Stalingrad's awesome. But I let a few things go because that was volume 1 of a set, right? So, like, you feel like there's still some kinks to get worked out. And I see they're trying to work the kinks out. Just enlighten me why these new kinks appear. I don't know. That's the part I can't get. So, but I am going to punch these counters, and I am going to play the shit out of this. And I probably will post a playthrough video for y'all. So, yeah, Manila, Savage Streets, 1945. Looking forward to it. But remember, be good to one another and do what you feel.